Welcome, everybody. I'm Dr. Mike Headlee, and with me is Dr. Gordon Fimreite. Welcome, Dr. Gordy. Happy New Year.
Hey, Mike, thank you. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year to you, Mike. Every year, it seems like this is our third year doing New Year's resolutions and setting goals and trying to make this your best year ever. So I'm going to kind of stick to the topic of 3 points that if somebody wants to make like a health goal, these 3 things, I'm currently actually coaching someone and I'm giving them these 3 steps, and hopefully it'll generate enough momentum to propel them into a healthy direction. And then I'm going to give you my personal goals at the end. So I'm kind of excited to share my personal goals.
You know, I'm going to ask our viewers and listeners some questions to get them thinking, instead of what's the most popular thing to do is diet and exercise and weight loss and hit the gym and join classes and get a trainer. I like to measure things. Gordy, it's hard to change things without measuring things. If you want to lose weight, it's hard to lose weight without knowing where your baseline is. And so I use a spreadsheet, a habit tracker. This is an old one. And so I can write on the left-hand side all of the habits that I do or want to implement morning or noon or evening routine. In January 1st, do I have an X by it? Did I do it? And so that gives me confidence, and then I don't forget any of the things that I want to do. So I'm a huge fan of creating a habit tracker and a checkoff list. And at the end of January, a couple of years ago, I missed a few check marks, and that's okay. It's not a 100% or fail. So I'm just a huge fan of tracking those things. So here's some interesting questions, and feel free to answer any of them if you choose, Dr. Gordy. Who and what are you most grateful for so far, at the end of the year? So who and what are you most grateful for in 2025 heading into 2026? What have you accomplished so far? What are you most proud of from 2025? What has been your biggest distractions throughout the year that you can maybe remove in 2026? What personal quality is most preventing you from accomplishing what you want to accomplish in your plans for 2026? Whom have you helped more than anyone else in 2025 heading into 2026? What is taking up your time, effort, and mental energy that needs to be firmly placed on your not to-do list? A la social media, a la binge watching Netflix series, etc. What truth are you refusing to face in your life? Wow, that's a tough one. What prevented you, and what truth are you refusing to face in your life? Why didn't you achieve some of the goals that you set out to in 2025? And so there's still plenty of time to set your intention for the year, to really make a solid plan if it's not in place. A lot of people like to begin before January 1st. So there's still a lot of time. So Napoleon Hill said, those who fail to plan can plan to fail. So I like to start by setting up a tracking system, whether you just want to do one goal or a bunch of routine changes. Then you can really see if it's working after a day or a week or the first month of the year. And then just contemplate some questions. Who do you need to become? What do you need to do? What do you need to let go of? What's distracting us? What's taking us our time, effort, energy, or money away from what we really, really want to accomplish? I write down in my planner, Dr. Gordy, what do I really want? And I answer that every day. What do I really want?
Powerful.
I answer that every single day. And so then I get clarity. Sometimes it's the same thing every day for weeks on end, but sometimes I go, wow, I don't want that anymore. I want this. And then I have to have a plan. And so that's what I have for my first overall arching point is questions. Just analyze your last year. Think about having a tracking system and really contemplate, who do I need to become? What are my actions to change? I need to change. How do I need to change? Because I know when you change your habits, you can change your life. And I want
So
this to
powerful, Mike. All those
yeah,
questions, so powerful.
cool.
And, if our viewers or listeners really need a guide, we've done this 2 years in a row, and both those podcasts go into detail as far as ideals of what people can really do. And I kept flashing back to my goals last year, and I read through them. I go, oh my gosh, I did it. And so I'll share that with the audience at the end, and maybe they'll get some ideals of how to really implement this and how I implemented it, which was really fun. So I've been seeing a few people around, and I've been challenging them to put down 101 lifetime goals, which I got from Mark Victor Hansen. And so I just had a patient today, and she goes, oh my God, I finished that. You challenged me to 101 lifetime goals, and I did it. And I go, how was it? Did you do it all at once? She goes, no. She had to take a break, but she finished it. And I go, is it pretty fun to do? And she goes, yeah, I actually had told a friend to do it as well. So I think that's kind of a good thing. All right, Mike, I'm going to start with 3 points. And the first one is we're into this new year. And if somebody's just not quite there where they want to be, well, the first step, in my opinion, is just to become aware. Just become aware of what you're eating. And I always do this myself, even though I'm kind of into the health and wellness realm. I always ask myself every meal, was this food around 120 years ago? Because foods that were around 120 years ago probably didn't have all the chemicals and the processing and all the bad things, the toxicities and all that other stuff that you have in those foods. So, the bottom line is that we want to get awareness of what's the food, what existed 120 years ago, because that's when the food was more natural, minimally processed, and free of the modern additives. In other words, ultra processed foods engineered for convenience and shelf life and not for human health. So awareness of this is probably the first natural step. So I recommend downloading. We talked about this before, downloading the app called Yuka, Yuka. It'll be on the screen. If you have the Yuka app, screen the foods that you plan on buying for your grocery list, and it'll give you a scale of 0 to 100. 100 is the best foods, and then it'll tell you why they're bad if they're bad. And it'll include some of the processing ingredients that may be bad for you or artificial ingredients. So after a week of awareness, what you may find is naturally you start making different choices. And it's not about perfection here. It's just, we live in this modern world and everything is out there and we have to see all these commercials. So we just have to make a goal of just being aware of what we're eating. So just notice how you feel after the meals as well. You can recognize, do I have more energy? Do I have cravings? Do I have better focus? And your body will give you this feedback, and hopefully it's the positive feedback that you're looking for. So that's my first point. So back on the second point of mine, the next thing is prioritize water. Work on swapping out less healthy beverages into this next year, like sodas and multiple coffees. Switch those out for just water, purified water, and get roughly 90 to 120 fluid ounces per day, including, that water is from fruits and vegetables, smoothies, and perhaps other beverages, healthy ones, in addition to water. So rather than obsessing about numbers, really listen to your body. There's a lot of thirst signals that you can really be conscious of. And also you can look at your urine. It should be a pale yellow, and that's a really good general indicator for hydration. So you might think of adding electrolyte powder mix as well. I'm a big fan of that. The one I use is called Ultima Replenisher, and it's electrolyte powder that you add to the water. So if you sweat a lot or you feel sluggish or you work out a lot, you might need some electrolytes to kind of get you through those times. So I challenge our audience to do a 7-day hydration challenge. So each morning, drink 1 full glass of water before anything else. Aim to add water before you subtract other drinks, and then carry a water container. This is mine. So this is BPA free, which it means that there's no plastics. And if you want to learn about more plastics, check out our podcast on plastics. But you want BPA, and it should be listed on the container itself. And then monitor yourself. How's your energy? Headaches? How's your focus? Do you have any cravings? If these things are reduced, that means you're getting enough water. And again, look for that pale yellow urine, and that means you're doing very well. So at the end of 7 days, just reflect. What kind of changes you've had? Better energy? How's your digestion? Your skin? How's your cravings? And how's your mood? So even mild dehydration, as little as 1 to 2% of your body weight, has been shown to negatively impact energy and concentration and mood and physical performance. So a lot of people, when they're thirsty, they mistake that for hunger and they eat. And meanwhile, they should have had some water instead. So that's my second point, to get that water. So back to you, Dr.
Very
Mike.
good, Dr. Gordy. I use the electrolyte element. It's LMNT. So that's the one I've been using lately. And I highly recommend it as well because I sauna a lot or go in the hot tub. So, and I drink a cup of coffee in the morning. So I just like to add my minerals in that form. And
Wow,
yeah, huge fan, huge fan. So
really good.
in keeping to the theme of three, I'm going to recommend three books as well. And one of them involves our morning routine. So my second main point is your morning routine determines your day. How you start is how you finish. So a consistent morning routine lays out the foundation for productive, peaceful, and purposeful days. I don't recommend this for everybody, but I'm a huge fan of the 5 a.m. club. So today I got up at 5 a.m. and I sat and I did some journal exercises, and then I sat in my sauna and I did a 35-minute meditation. So that's the very first things that I do. And so that's I'm a big fan of your morning routine. And so I started out by writing it out. What am I going to do when the alarm goes off? Okay, I'll give myself a minute or two if I do have to use the bathroom. Then I hydrated. Then I came in and started journaling. Then I got right in the sauna and put on headphones and did my meditation. And then I go in the other room and I did my yoga exercises, and then I go in and shave and get ready. And so it just makes sense for me, and it made sense on the paper. So I'm just a huge fan of starting off the day right. And you can get out of bed and hop in the shower and brush your teeth and head out the door and have a great, great day. You don't have to have 15 things done before you leave the house, or if you work in your house or whatever. But I'm just saying, if it's structured and organized and peaceful and calm, or if you pray or you meditate or journal and exercise and or read a book or listen to a great podcast or listen to one of our podcasts or have some herbal tea or hydration with an electrolyte, gosh, it just sets you up for the rest of the day. Then you aren't scrambling and then you aren't disorganized. So that's my second point too. The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, and the other books that talk about that too. The Miracle Equation by Hal Elrod. The two decisions that move your biggest goals from possible to probable to inevitable. And they just talk about the miracle morning because that's one of his other books, The Miracle Equation. He talks about the miracle morning. So these two books, if you want to become an early morning riser and really start your days off structured and organized from very successful people, those two are amazing. And then my third book, Slowing Down to the Speed of Joy, I'm about halfway through that. One of the words they really, really rip apart is the word busy, Dr. Gordy. I'm so busy. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to set goals and to set affirmations. And I don't have time to set New Year's resolutions. I'm so busy. You don't understand. Busy is the enemy of joy. Busy is the enemy of success. Busy is the enemy of happiness and fulfillment. I'm not saying we can't be super achievers and sometimes put in 20-hour days, because sometimes you have to, you know what it's like to start a new practice and get going and like, wow, I'm tired. I'm putting in a ton of hours. So I'm not saying that's not needed and not necessary. But at the end of the day, we need to have chunks of time for the foundational elements in our life that produce good health and well-being, that eating well and moving well and thinking well and sleeping well. And so slowing down to the speed of joy, and very phenomenal books. And so I get more done because I get up at 5. And I usually sleep really, really good because I'm really tired at night because I got up so early. So that's my second main point.
It's great strategy and great books. This is a good segue for me. Start your day with a smoothie. I just started this a while back. It's been like 2 or 3 years now. I've been having smoothies for breakfast, and I'll share with what I load them with. But people that are getting onto this health kick and don't know where to start, this is one of the things you can start. So you can take those healthy ingredients and freeze them, or buy them already frozen. Look for organic products, and what I do is I use a blender. I mix these ingredients I'll share in a moment together. I make a serving of 4. Basically, I have 2 glasses on the day of, and then I put the 2 glasses in the refrigerator, and then I'll have the second 2 glasses the next day. That way I don't have to make a smoothie every day, well, even though it's not very hard. So the first thing is banana, and then I use cauliflower, and then I have spinach, and then I have blueberries, and then I have yogurt, preferably organic. And then again, check out the Yuka app, because there's so many yogurts with all kinds of sugar in it, and you don't want to start your day with extra sugar. You'll get enough sugars through the blueberries and bananas, but just a healthy yogurt. And then I put collagen peptides in there, which is good for bone structure and tendons and soft tissue. And I use a product called Vital Proteins, and sometimes you can get that with probiotics, which are phenomenal for you as well. And then I use organic plant-based protein called organic protein, and this I really get all the nutrients from it. It has extra probiotics, and it's got probably about 50 superfoods, so I highly recommend that as well. And then make it a goal to do more weight-bearing movement exercises going into this new year. So each day, I mean, maybe you don't want to go to the gym. Maybe you can do some basic stuff, maybe walking up a hill, or some strength training. Yes, we want you to do that, hiking or dancing, anything that requires your body to work against gravity. A great goal is about 7,500 steps per day. Most people, this is the biggest benefit that will show up, and this can really improve cardiovascular health, your blood sugar control, as well as longevity. So if you're not quite there yet, do something and just add steps every day. And research does show that the largest reduction in mortality risk occurs between 7,000 and 8,000 steps per day, with diminishing returns beyond that. So we did a whole podcast on walking. Highly recommend checking it out. I think you'll learn a lot. And the old saying, consistency is more important than intensity. So important just to do something to get going. So another 7-day challenge is movement, just this mini challenge. So track your steps for 7 days. No judgment, just do it. Add 5 to 1,000 steps to your daily average if you're just starting out, and to get to that 7,500 mark. Take 10 minutes walking after a meal. And I remember reading about this. Woody Allen, he was a famous director, and he's still alive in his 90s. And every dinner, he goes out for a walk after his meal. What a great ideal. Get your body going, get the metabolism going, get your digestion going. And the next thing is focus on how your movement affects your mood, digestion, and sleep. And then just a side note about sleep. Movement improves sleep, and sleep determines how well your body responds to everything else. So it's critical to get that sleep as well. And then I recommend just start that health journal. Start journaling and document your wins or your successes with your goals of each week. And it doesn't need to be long, just little few bullet points. Write down what went well this week, and what, how you felt after the challenge, and the goals for the upcoming week, just something. And if you're working on your body mass index, or you're trying to lose weight, I recommend just weighing yourself once a week. Don't get so obsessed with it. Check it out. No judgment. Just see where you're at, and just try to be consistent with all the strategies that I had shared with so far. So just document, don't judge. And then the progress will show up in the form of energy, strength, cravings, your mood, and then your confidence. So one final note about these health, these 3 points is just make affirmations. Just tell yourself, I'm showing up consistently, or small habits are adding up, or I'm looking and feeling good. Just something affirming what you're doing is a good thing. So, Mike, I'm going to throw it back to you. But after you're done, you asked a bunch of questions about as far as like goals. I'm going to share my 2025 goals, and I'm going to kind of read through them quickly, and it might give some insight. And I was pretty excited to read through them, actually. So back to you.
My last key point in mine are a little bit non-conventional by asking people what do you really want and what's holding you back or what do you need to change, what do you need to let go of, do you need to declutter? What's been your biggest distractions from reaching all of your goals the year before? What are you grateful for, etc. And then tracking things down, like you mentioned, tracking things. I just use old school paper to do that. But my last key point, besides the Miracle Morning and 5 a.m. clubs, is strengthen your inner dialogue. And I'm a big fan of collecting books and reading books. And one of my goals for the new year is to read 52 books, so a book a week. It's roughly 35-ish minutes a day you can get through a book in a week, and depending on the size of the book. But the book I've reinforced strengthening your inner dialogue with is The Forgotten Way, the St. James Master Plan by Matthew Kelly. And, I've been a big fan of the statement, whether you think you can or think you can, usually you're right. And belief is a big thing. Our words are like a reflection of our soul. Our words, really, really matter way more than we think. And so the 30-day challenge that I started off January with, I've never done the no complaining challenge. There's a book about that, and there's online. I've never done that before. So I made it 6 days, and then I really complained a lot yesterday. So I have to start over for another 30 days. But I made it good. The first 5, 6 days or 5.5 days are really, really good. But I recommend I'm a big fan of journaling. If you say, I am not going to swear, I am just going to be positive. I'm going to say an affirmation. I'm going to read my goals before I go to bed. When I wake up, I'm going to focus. I'm going to say, please and thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. And just be really conscious of my thoughts and my words, my inner and outer dialogue. Then at the end of the day, how did you do on a scale of 0 to 10? Yesterday, I got about a 3. Today, I'm going about a 9. So I'm doing way better today. And so I'm a big fan of just writing down numbers or a sentence or, gosh, I slipped up because I swore at someone who cut me off in traffic. So, I got really down because my last 6 patients didn't show up. Just got bummed out or whatever. And so that's my last one, Dr. Gordy, is strengthen your inner and outer dialogue and really be conscious of your words. Really examine what comes out of our mouth. And are we happy with it at the end of the day on a scale of 0 to 10? Are we happy? And if we are, why? If we aren't, why? And we can always reinforce it with books or scripture or positive books that I just mentioned earlier. These guys, Robin Sharma and Hal Elrod, I mean, they're super positive and optimistic, and they've achieved so many goals. They just write down and put the action steps and get to work, or follow Tony Robbins or follow us or whatever. Just put positivity into your brain all the time. And I thought I went to an inspirational movie last night, but gosh, it was horrible. And I think that was one of the things I complained about is the movie last night I went to. So, but there are a lot of good, positive, inspirational stuff out there on YouTube and social media and movies. So check your inner and outer dialogue, Dr. Gordy. So I'm excited to hear what your 2026 goals are going to be.
That's great, Mike. Thanks for sharing. Great information. So a year ago, I was living in Chicago, and my wife and I decided that we needed a change. We wanted to move out of Chicago. And so we traveled everywhere. We went down to Florida and Texas and South and North Carolina. We went to Tennessee. But where we ended up was probably a surprise to a lot of people. We picked a community called Auburn, Alabama. And we couldn't be happier. Now it's been almost a year. February will be a year. About a year ago, I put these goals out. These are my 2025 goals. And I'm going to read these just to kind of inspire people that they can write their goals and see how it is at the end of the year when you review those goals. So the first thing I put down is build an Auburn, Alabama practice. And I'm proud to say that I opened up that practice in July. So it was great. I find the perfect practice location, and I had an idea what I wanted. So that was all internally as far as the look, the aesthetic, the feel. Finished. I found the space. It was a perfect space. I couldn't believe that I found this space. And now I'm in the process of building the practice, and it's actually going better than I expected. And of course, I put down change the website, logo, phone numbers, and all this stuff for the new practice. And I had the name of the practice already picked out a year ago, 6 months basically before I actually opened. And then I decided I'm going to do shockwave therapy because it's a new therapy that I feel very strongly about. Dr. Mike, we did a podcast. You shared your experience with shockwave. So that was in my goal last year. I decided, you know what? I have old software, but I want new software. I want something updated. And now I'm using that. It took forever to get it down, but I'm actually using that. This was a goal before I even knew what I wanted to do. And then I decided, well, I want this chiropractic table with drops and flexion, distraction table, and ended up getting it. It's been just a phenomenal addition. And then I had some SEO, search engine goals, blah, blah, blah. Some other goals I added is get to bed before 11. And of course, I think I'm accomplishing that in most part, not always consistent. Simple goals, but again, these goals are your goals, and they should be as simple or complex as you want them. And then I made it a goal a year ago that I was going to take 3 months going into spring with no sugar and no processed food, everything natural. And I went the full 3 to 4 months with no sugar, with no processed food, just everything that was here 120 years ago. And at the end of that, I have never felt such physically good shape and felt phenomenal. It was just a really good thing. But I didn't know I was going to do that until I wrote this goal in December, and I followed through with it, and it was phenomenal. I want to read one Kindle book every other week and continue to work out 5 to 6 times a week. Strive to 2 to 3 times of either doing swimming, elliptical, or running. Stretch 3 times a week. And then in the next 1 to 3 years, we have some travel goals that we want to do with our wife, where we want to go. I put this down. I want to avoid social media. I think it's harmful for the mind. I wanted to avoid news because that also can be harmful because it gets you into the stinking thinking. So I put that as a goal. Done a pretty good job on that. 2 language courses that I'm working on, Chinese. I'm also working on Spanish. So I've been consistent. I took classes. So a year ago, I put that down. I'm continuing. I've been doing it every day. And then sport leagues that I wanted to get involved with, church I wanted to get involved with here, new friends, and these are goals that I'm still working on. And then on this side, I wanted to do some other personal goals. But these are just some of the ideals that people can do. And I just wanted to keep my headspace healthy and happy by removing some of those negative things. And then my wife says, oh, why don't we make a goal of winning the lottery? I'm happy to report we won the lottery. We won $500 and won the lottery. Now, we don't do that all the time, but I always say that if you pay $1 for a lottery ticket, sometimes it kind of gets you in a happy space of what you do, even though you're not going to probably win. But the reality is you have those moments of thinking, and it's fun to do. So we buy our lottery tickets every so often. And then, of course, praying for the family and just our relationship goals. These are just some of the ideals. And then I also write what I've accomplished from the year before, because that's also fun, just seeing what you accomplish. So, Mike, when I pulled up my goals and looked at them, I felt like I was opening up Christmas presents because I was so curious what I wrote down last year and how I did on them. And I looked at them, I'm like, wow, it's been quite a year for me personally and professionally. And it's actually been pretty exciting. So,
well, congratulations. Good job
thank you.
achieving most of your goals, Gordy.
Yeah, still working on others. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Way to inspire us, keep us all motivated for the new year 2026. So as we wrap this up, I'm going to just ask what's your number one takeaway that you can share with a coworker on how you can, push each other and keep each other accountable and help each other set goals or achieve goals or reach goals. And if one person drops off, how can you help them keep going? And so, what's your number one takeaway that you can share with a colleague or coworker? And then what's your number one action step that you can take today? Are you going to do like Gordy and track things and or have a water challenge and hydrate? Or are you going to maybe get a morning routine like I recommended or get a book to read? Or so what's your number one action step based on what we talked about?
Thank you for joining us on the Health Angle podcast. Please subscribe to our channel and catch us for our next episode.